What? You're not allowed to hit people?
Dragon Ball is no stranger to major character changes. From time skips to character arcs and even retcons, the franchise has seen some crazy shifts. In fact, it's practically a signature of the series to change characters from time to time. It's because of this that we decided to look at some of the craziest character changes in all of Dragon Ball, from a new look to complete personality rewrites and everything in between. Without further ado, let's get started. Starting off, we have one of the most famous examples of a character changing in Dragon Ball, Vegeta. While it wasn't a drastic, sudden shift, Vegeta's growth over time stands as one of the best character arcs in all of anime, as well as an example of Dragon Ball letting a character change. As we all know, Vegeta started out as a pretty irredeemable villain, but as time went on, his desire to push down others for power, take over planets, and destroy all challengers slowly faded. Sure, it was because he was more focused on surpassing Goku, but this eventually evolved into Vegeta moving past his evil ways and becoming a hero of Earth. Heck, Vegeta's a pretty chill dude these days, acting as a loving husband and an attentive, caring father. Again, it happened over time and wasn't a sudden character shift, but that's the beauty of it. Vegeta learned to grow over time. A shining example of what makes Dragon Ball great, the fact that it's not afraid to change its characters drastically, be it suddenly or over time. Though, he did backslide a bit in the Buu Saga, but everybody got wished back to life, so that's fine. Next up, we have the most recent instance of a character being completely changed in the Dragon Ball franchise, Broly. This retcon came courtesy of Dragon Ball Super Broly, which revamped, edited, and improved the character by rebooting his story and personality from his original, somewhat poorly received film series. Broly was totally changed, getting rebooted from a poorly written character just meant to provide a challenge to Goku and friends into a character full of tragedy and sympathy. He was left with potential as a good guy by the end of the film, something the original version of Broly could not claim, and something we're excited to see unfold. When Yamcha first appeared in Dragon Ball, he was something of a joke. However, since early Dragon Ball was all about comedy, pretty much everyone was a source of comic relief. Under Yamcha's comedic exterior, he was actually a pretty nefarious, dangerous person, a desert bandit who was after the Dragon Balls for his own selfish desires. As the series moved on to focus on martial arts action and Yamcha became a good guy, he was actually a pretty serious character, one who showed a lot of potential and power as a warrior. In fact, even in Dragon Ball Z, when his infamous death occurred, Yamcha gave it his all, proving himself against the Cybermen before it hit him with a kamikaze sucker punch. Yamcha wasn't that much of a joke before his death, but fast forward to Dragon Ball Super and the franchise has fully leaned into the meme version of Yamcha, who's a weak, pathetic joke. Just look at his apartment. It's pretty sad looking. The best example of Yamcha's character being changed to a joke, however, is the baseball episode of Dragon Ball Super, which recreated Yamcha's Cyberman death, but as the result of everyone taking the game too far. Prior to the first episode of the future Trunks saga of Dragon Ball Super, teasers were released showing off the character's new look for the series. On top of some new duds, Trunks' hair was now blue, a curious change that both has an interesting story behind it and also marks one of the many instances of Dragon Ball completely changing its characters. As for the reason why future Trunks' hair was changed to blue, it's kind of a weird story. You see, in the original Dragon Ball manga, Bulma was meant to have purple hair, but when the anime premiered, she had blue hair. So when Trunks was introduced, his hair was corrected to the original manga colors. However, when Dragon Ball Super came around, it seemed like they wanted everything to match up. So they gave future Trunks the same hair color as Bulma in the anime. However, Kid Trunks was left with purple hair for some reason. When we were first introduced to Goku, he was just some super strong kid with a monkey tail and a love for fighting. Although he was weird, we had no reason to believe that his crazy strength, monkey tail, and giant ape transformation were signs that he was an alien. However, all that changed when the character was completely changed by Dragon Ball Z. Specifically, at the beginning of the Saiyan Saga, Goku's brother Raditz retconned a lot of what we knew about Goku by revealing that he was an alien, connecting his tail, transformation, and strength as parts of his alien biology. Goku was completely changed as a character when we learned that he was an alien, a change that ended up making the series much more interesting by taking it to a new, insane level. The reveal that Goku was an alien changed that character from just a weird kid and powerful warrior to a Saiyan, the strongest warrior race in the universe. We also learned that a bump on the head changed Goku's personality, ridding him of a Saiyan instinct and stopping him from conquering the planet, which was what he was originally sent to Earth to do. Like Vegeta, Bulma went through a slow evolution throughout the Dragon Ball franchise. When we first met Bulma, she was something of a spoiled princess, the privileged but brilliant heiress to the Capsule Corp fortune. Due to what we can only assume is a total lack of hardships growing up, Bulma was very much a prima donna throughout most of Dragon Ball. But towards the ends of the series and into Dragon Ball Z, Bulma became less of a spoiled brat, throwing less tantrums and acting a bit less entitled. In fact, Dragon Ball Z seemed to make a point of treating Bulma more as a brilliant scientist than a bratty form of comic relief, since she was seen modifying, building, or reverse engineering a bunch of technology throughout the series. As Dragon Ball Z continued, Bulma became more mature, eventually becoming a mother and leaving her younger personality even more in the past. All that said, Bulma isn't a pushover. She still has that fiery personality that pushes her to punch and yell at gods of destruction. Over the course of Dragon Ball, Bulma's bratty personality evolved into that of a strong, brilliant, brave, and determined character. One of the most common ways, or perhaps the most common way in which Dragon Ball changes its characters, is through a time skip. Specifically, the series isn't afraid to age their characters after some time has passed. The most noteworthy example of this, of course, was when Goku returned from his training with Kami, showing up as a full-grown adult after fans had known him as a little kid for so long. In fact, Akira Toriyama got into some hot water for aging Goku, since it completely changed the image of such a popular character. Goku isn't the only instance of a character being completely changed by a time skip. Other examples include Krillin, Videl, Goten, Trunks in the series epilogue, and of course, Gohan's many different looks over time. From his original appearance to his Namek look to his look during the Cell games and his teenage design during the early Buu Saga. Dragon Ball is no stranger to aging characters as time passes. In fact, it's more or less a staple of the series. That is, until Dragon Ball Super, which for some reason refuses to let Trunks and Goten get any older. After the Piccolo Jr. saga, Goku and his friends seemed to stop competing in the World Martial Arts Tournament, and as a result, the competition didn't experience crazy powerful fighters, allowing someone as weak as Mr. Satan to become the reigning champ. Because of this, Mr. Satan developed quite the ego, an ego that made him believe he was the strongest fighter on the planet. The pinnacle of Mr. Satan's arrogance came during and after the Cell games. On top of thinking he could take on Cell, Mr. Satan eventually took credit for defeating the villain, leading to even more fame that he could keep if he kept up the facade that he was the world's hero. However, a major change happened after the Buu Saga, since Mr. Satan eventually stopped thinking he was the best and just kept up the facade to keep Goku and his friends' identities and powers a secret. Specifically, Mr. Satan stopped taking credit for Cell and Buu's defeats while amongst the Z fighters, keeping up the act to keep the world safe. So, Mr. Satan went through a major change between Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super, becoming less of an arrogant, self-centered showboat. On top of rebooting Broly, Dragon Ball Super Broly also rebooted Bardock, who had only fully appeared in a TV special that isn't really considered canon. So, the movie showed the first canon version of Bardock, and a few things were changed about his backstory, personality, appearance, and actions. Mainly, Bardock's story was streamlined and cut down, and his personality was made a bit calmer. Specifically, Bardock didn't roll with the crew he was a part of in Bardock the Father of Goku, instead appearing to be a solo warrior sent to conquer planets. Additionally, the film introduced Bardock's wife, Gine, who had only previously appeared in Dragon Ball Minus, her appearance in the film further changing Bardock's character from how we knew him originally. Additional changes to Bardock include his armor, which now has shoulder pads and is a different color, and the removal of the headband he wore in previous incarnations. Furthermore, Bardock doesn't have prophetic visions like he did in Father of Goku, and the reason he sent Goku away in Broly was because of his suspicions of Frieza. Dragon Ball Super Broly changed quite a bit about Bardock when his character was rebooted for the film. Without a doubt, one of Bulma's most notable traits is her tendency to change outfits and hairstyles all the time. In fact, from one saga to another, Bulma has a completely new look, each new outfit and hairstyle being their own example of the character being changed. When we first met Bulma, she wore a pink dress, sneakers, and her hair in a braid. While most of her Dragon Ball outfits and hairstyles weren't that drastically different from each other, when Dragon Ball Z rolled around, each of Bulma's new looks was vastly different from the last. Some examples include her short hair in the Saiyan Saga, her space outfit and medium-length hair in the Namek Saga, her big poofy hair and red dress orange vest combo in the Android Saga, her mom look in the Cell Saga, her scientist look in Super, and her casual white shirt, jeans, and red bandana look in the other parts of Super. Whew, that was a long list. Any way you look at it, Bulma is something of a style icon, and each look she's sported throughout the franchise stands as its own major character change, especially since her outfits in Dragon Ball Z were so different from each other. Like Vegeta, Piccolo went through a major character change from his first appearance as a villain. Piccolo first entered the series as a bad guy, the son of King Piccolo, who was tasked with getting revenge and taking over the world. This was Piccolo Jr.'s plan, and he was pretty close to achieving it at the World Martial Arts Tournament. Eventually, however, Goku stopped Piccolo, and Piccolo bided his time to make his next move. But in waiting to fight Goku once again, the Saiyans made their way to Earth. And in order to protect the planet he wanted to take over, as he stated, he took Gohan under his wing. However, his original motivation eventually melted into a genuine care for Gohan and planet Earth, his friendship with Gohan leading him to make a selfless sacrifice. Piccolo changed his ways during his time training Gohan, the young Saiyan's kindness and warmth helping Piccolo to grow and evolve as a person, making one of the most beautiful character changes in Dragon Ball. Piccolo would continue to change as time rolled on, his evil desires fading away as he eventually became Gohan's go-to babysitter for Pan. When Videl was first introduced during the Great Saiyan Saga of Dragon Ball Z, she was a rebellious, no-nonsense, fiery crime fighter. Heck, she used her skills, smarts, and determination to find out the Great Saiyaman's true identity and blackmail Gohan into competing in the World Martial Arts Tournament and teaching her to fly. Videl wasn't a pushover. She was tough, badass, and didn't have any doubts about her father's abilities and feats. But once she learned the truth that Gohan defeated Cell and that her father is a big fat phony, it seemed like she became less rebellious. Perhaps it's because she had less to fight against, but Videl was much more calm and less fiery in Dragon Ball Super, which was a major character change for her. Seriously, Videl was as badass as they came, evoking the same toughness as Bulma and Chi-Chi exhibit when yelling at their husbands or protecting their children. Yet, Videl was the only one who lost her fire. It's not necessarily a bad change, just a big one. Then again, she did tell Barry Khan off in Super, so maybe that fire is still there. Videl wasn't the only character who got nerfed by the time of Dragon Ball Super. Her husband experienced the same. Yes, while Gohan was at one point the Saiyan who ascended past Super Saiyan, defeated Cell, and eventually gained his ultimate form, which kicked Super Boo's butt, Dragon Ball Super had turned him into a big sweater-wearing dork. It's not like we didn't see this coming, though. Gohan never really had the love of fighting that Goku and Vegeta had, and his mother always talked about how important his studies were, both of which eventually led him to drop fighting altogether and pursue the life of a scholar. So, his gi became a sweater, and he didn't fight as much. In fact, Gohan was so far from his previous life of fighting that he was basically a total wimp when he fought against Frieza after he was resurrected and came to Earth. He didn't even have a gi to change into, he just showed up with a sweatsuit and glasses like a big nerd. These changes were eventually reversed, as Gohan got his groove back towards the beginning and during the Universal Survival Saga. But the point still stands that the character was changed drastically in Super. Amongst the many appearance changes in Dragon Ball, Vegeta's armor is one of the most notable. Specifically, we're talking about how Vegeta started out with full Saiyan armor and eventually lost all armor by the time of the Buu Saga. Vegeta's first armor was the full Frieza Force getup, complete with shoulder pads, all the leg and groin pads, and a scouter. However, after his defeat at the hands of Goku and his friends, Vegeta was healed and opted to forego a scouter and wear armor with just shoulder pads. A bit further into the Frieza Saga, Vegeta changed into an all-black bodysuit and armor that had no shoulder pads and white straps. Fast forward to the Android Saga, and Vegeta started wearing his signature armor, the lightweight armor that Bulma created. Vegeta wore this armor through the Cell Saga, but by the time of the Buu Saga, he had opted to no longer wear armor, only sporting a sleeveless leotard and his signature gloves and boots. Vegeta also sported some different armor during the Golden Frieza Saga, but that didn't last very long since he went back to his Cell Saga armor. Every one of his armor stood as major character design changes. Goku and Vegeta were also amongst the characters that got parts of their origins retconned in Dragon Ball Super Broly, specifically their younger days. For Vegeta, the scenes that depicted him in Bardock, the father of Goku, were erased from the continuity, and his brief appearance as a kid in Broly serves as its canon replacement. Specifically, this scene explained how Vegeta survived the destruction of his planet, since he, Raditz, Nappa, and 2 other Saiyans refused to return home. As for Goku, we saw the canon depiction of his childhood on planet Vegeta. After learning that Frieza was asking around about the Super Saiyan legend, Bardock realized that he might be planning something, leading him to send his young son, just barely out of his incubation pod, to another planet as a means of keeping him safe. This told us that Goku was wearing his armor when he landed on Earth, and it showed us Goku's parents sending him away. 2 changes to the character's origin. These changes weren't major, but they still retconned both Goku and Vegeta, standing as major changes to the characters that helped integrate stuff that had only been shown in non-canon material into the main canon of the series. There you have it, some of the craziest character changes, personality shifts, and new design reveals in Dragon Ball. Did we leave any good ones out? Which one of these was the most shocking? Let us know what you think down in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to CBR for more Dragon Ball videos. Thanks for watching.